welcome to another exciting edition of the Plumbing 101 show. My name is Willem, I'll be your host, and in this episode we'll be talking about the fact that there's a lot more associated with being a professional than simply just delivering a quality service and a high-level standard of service. Today we are taking a look at the process of auditing plumbing work, and joining me for this conversation, I've got two guests with me. Now, one of them is Mr. Allen Scholtz, who is a qualified PIRB registered and licensed plumber, but who also serves as an auditor for IOPSA. And the other gentleman is Mr. Xander Meyer, and he is also a qualified PIRB registered and licensed plumber and the owner of Capital Plumbing and Electrical. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me. A warm welcome to the two of you as well.
Thank you very much.
Now, there's a lot to be said about this process, the auditing process, and what makes it such a positive thing. And I'm quite excited about the conversation that we are going to have. But just before we get into the details of the conversation, to our viewers out there, don't go away. Please stay tuned. We are going to cross over to Naomi for some industry news.
Hello and welcome to the news. My name is Naomi. According to the Plumbing Industry Commission in Australia, plumbers are the protectors of the nation's health. Now, considering South Africa's current water security, this still holds true. Tell me why you became a plumbing contractor, written by Aubrey Kibble in the October issue of Plumbing Africa, explains that plumbers are second only to doctors in terms of public health. And unfortunately, a part of the community sees no value in either compliance or becoming a qualified plumber, two of the industry's worst enemies. But why is compliance so important? To put it simply, compliance is the requirement to classify specific products and systems into standards that are made mandatory by the Acts of Parliament. To go against this means to go against what the law demands. Meanwhile, Ariston Group has officially launched its global brand Ariston in South Africa, replacing the local brand Heatec. The introduction of the Ariston brand is seen as a logical progression as South Africa grows in importance as a core location in the group's portfolio. Now, with this rebranding, Ariston pledges to bring over 90 years of history and expert knowledge in water heating in the South African market. In other news, Volkswagen Group South Africa, also known as VWSA, has collaborated with several organizations to help 15 schools in Kariga and dispatch amid a water crisis. The VWSA, in collaboration with Old Mutual, recently implemented 30 water tanks at 15 schools. Both companies sponsored 15 tanks, each with a capacity of 500 liters, and made certain that the tanks were equipped with taps and connected to the roof gutters at the schools. Now, VWSA remains steadfast in their commitment to reducing its environmental impact and has done its part to conserve resources such as water. That's it for now. Let's take it back to Willem in studio.
Thanks to Tech Naomi for the latest news in the plumbing industry. Now, as I said in today's episode, we're talking about the auditing process, or the process of auditing plumbing work. And I did mention that I have two guests for this conversation joining me in studio today. One of them is Mr. Allen Scholtz. Allen, just before I bombard you with the questions that I have for you, please just quickly introduce yourself to the viewers out there.
Thank you, Willem. It's Allen Scholtz. I'm a qualified licensed plumber. I'm also a qualified electrician. I'm a co-owner of a testing laboratory. My working experience was like 7 years at SABS, testing plumbing components. And currently I'm also working for IOPSA as an auditor, where I go out and verify our licensed plumbers' certifications, CSCs.
Xander, how about yourself?
Hi, so my name is Xander. I'm a qualified and licensed plumber. I went to PCD college and I completed my apprenticeship there, where thereafter I've completed my trade test and registered as a licensed plumber with the PIRB. I've been having my own company since around about March, April 2018 to date.
Uh-huh. So not only a qualified plumber yourself, but also an owner of a plumbing company.
Correct, yes. I'm a business owner and director of my company. So, we specialize in all general plumbing work from, small maintenance jobs all the way up to contract plumbing, basic electrical maintenance and contract electrical work. So that is what we specialize in.
Allen, let's get to the auditing process. You mentioned that you now also serve as an auditor for IOPSA. So if you don't mind, just for the sake of our viewers, what exactly, or let me rather rephrase that. Please give us just a brief explanation of what the audit process is and what it entails.
Okay. So the auditing process has a few national standards that we go and do our checks and balances. Because of the time constraint, I will just maybe focus on the SANS 10254, that in short is the geyser replacement specification. What we then go out is, it's very simple. The auditor will go out to the particular geyser replacement. He will then go and inspect the installation or the replacement on itself, and then issue a report on the compliancy, identifying critical and non-critical items, and then the plumber will then receive this report showing compliancy and non-compliances.
So in other words, if I understand it correctly, Allen, is that what you're saying is plumbers, when they complete their plumbing work, they issue a certificate of compliance to certify, or to self-certify for that matter, that their work does comply with the requirements of the applicable standards. And the auditing process entails for an auditor like yourself to go out to site and actually check the requirements, or match the requirements of the standard to the actual work that has been done. Is that correct?
That's correct, Willem. So the auditing process needs to be like a neutral platform. So all of our auditors needs to be on the same base, and even in different provinces, it is quite a challenge, as we know that, but there's one specification. So we try to keep all that requirements, and as also requirements change, we also try to keep the plumbers updated for these changes.
Okay. All right, so let's get to the importance of an audit process. I mean, why, you've explained to us what it is, what it entails, but why is it important? Why is it implemented in the first place?
Okay, so again, it's about the credibility behind the COC. It's not just a piece of paper. It is a paper that it's signed for. It's issued to a homeowner or to a address, and indicating all the work that's been identified that was done. And then there is also a pre-existing non-conformances. So part of that auditing process, we verify that the address are correctly filled in, that it has a dedication for that particular work that was done. And then we also verify the pre-existing non-conformances, that the plumber also indicate to the homeowner before a pre-inspection, before the time when he was doing the work, and that the homeowner is fully informed about this pre-existing non-conformances.
So I like the fact that you said, specifically for the importance, is the fact that it gives credibility to that piece of paper that the plumber issues to the customer, to say that my work complies with the requirements of the applicable standard, right? And the fact is that anybody can give a piece of paper with a signature and a stamp on it, but what is the process behind it? What makes that piece of paper a credible piece of paper? And that's why that audit process, that's from what I'm understanding from your...
That's correct.
Allen, what is it, why is there in general such a negative perception or negative mindset that is sort of associated with the auditing process?
Yes, Willem, that we found out that with the auditing process, there is some licensed plumbers that's been trading for years, and they always had this maybe this idea that they've doing it correctly because they've been qualified, and then just to find out that the auditor shows him out that a few non-conformances has been raised against him on his installation or his replacement. So yes, they do find that it's a punitive measurement for that, and the way that we then approach this is then guide in the licensed plumber, tell him, listen here, in our specification, which is a minimum requirements, this is what is required, and then try to explain to him why is maybe the reasons, because sometimes because we just replace components, we don't always understand or ask what is the functions of these components. And yes, it is sometimes a negative report, but afterwards, when thoroughly explained and there's a proper, and IOPSA does a lot of additional training materials that's out there that is available for anybody or any plumber that's out there to use, and how components work. And when that is dealt with, you will find that process gets much easier.
So in actual fact, the audit process we've talked about the importance thereof. We've talked about, the fact that some people may perceive it as a punitive measure, but in actual fact, it offers benefits. It is a beneficial process. It carries a lot of value to it. What are some of the benefits of the audit process?
Yes, Willem, we see that the plumbers do find the benefits out of the process, because most of the time they've been qualified and not even aware of some of the national standards, and only then getting exposed to these standards and the requirements of it. So yes, there's a lot of benefit for the licensed plumber to get exposure to that, and then also for our homeowners, the public that's out there, to show that, listen, that the licensed guy that signed off the certificate is accredited, and that he knows his specifications, and that the work that was done is accordance to those SANS regulations.
It sort of gives peace of mind to the consumer, that to know that if there is something done incorrectly and then there's a non-conformance or a non-compliance for that matter, there's some form of recourse, because the plumbers get an opportunity to go and fix it afterwards if there is a non-conformance found?
Yes, Willem. They can then, after the report, the plumber will then have the report structure in front of him to indicate what he needs to go to refix, and then he phones up his customer, and then 9 out of 10 times the customer will then get back to the plumber to say thank you for coming and rectifying it and doing it.
And also, from what I deduced from what you said earlier, was that it's sort of a learning curve for the plumber as well, something for them to learn from and to grow from, to develop further in their trade. And, I mean, you did mention that some of the plumbers don't even know about certain requirements in certain standards. So to me, it is a question, from what I can hear and understand from what you're saying, is that if they are made aware of that one little thing that might not, that slight thing that they didn't do correctly, non-compliance, that the next time that they do an installation or a repair or a replacement for that matter, that they won't make that same mistake. They've learned from it from the previous time. Is that correct?
That is correct, Willem. Xander is one of the plumbers I've been auditing for some time now, and yes, in the beginning we had our hiccups, and things that we
just to say the least.
But again, it was a teething process, and because again, he knows his work, but it's all the finer details that the requirements shows us what is how to correct it, basically to just cover those safety aspects.
Xander, I've got a couple of questions for you as well, but just before I get to those questions, to our viewers, please don't go away. We are going to go and take a quick ad break. We'll be right back after this.
Do you work for yourself or run your own company? A lack of knowledge about finances and financial management can limit your growth. The tools function on App Plumber offers you assistance in calculating your call-out fees and service rates so that your business not merely survives, but also makes a profit. Install App Plumber today and use the tool functions to make sure you charge your worth.
Good day, how can I help you?
Hi, I'm here to log in my COCs, but I seem to be having an issue with my computer.
No problem, but did you know that you can log your COCs using an app on your cell phone?
Oh, what app is that?
It's called the App Plumber. Do you have a smartphone with you?
Yes, I do.
Oh well, let me show you how it works.
Not only can you access your PIRB profile on the App Plumber, but you can also earn CPD points while exploring the plumbing industry in the palm of your hand. Download the app from Google Play Store and join thousands of other happy users.
Welcome back. You are still tuned into an interesting edition of the Plumbing 101 show, in which we are talking about being a professional and the process of auditing plumbing work. Now, just before we went into our ad break, we talked about what the audit process is, what it entails, what the importance thereof is, and what the benefits to both the plumber and the consumer is, or are for that matter, with specifically the auditing process. But now I want to get into the fact or the perception or the perspective of a plumber. And Xander, this is where you come into the picture to tell us from your perception or your perspective. When you issue a certificate of compliance, do you do that with pride, taking pride in your trade, taking pride in your profession, taking pride of the fact that you've delivered good quality services? And secondly, when you issue that COC, do you do it with the confidence, knowing that your work that you've delivered does sort of comply with the requirements of the applicable standards?
So Willem, yes, obviously I do. I feel like I've went to college to complete a diploma and an apprenticeship to ensure that I'm a professional plumber and that I'm professional in my industry. So end of the day, when I issue these COCs, I do so with pride, because end of the day, quality is what I'm selling to my customers. And end of the day, if the quality is not right, you're not gonna be able to maintain a good income and make a good profit out of your work, because any work that is non-compliant always comes back down the line. It's gonna bite you somewhere.
For sure.
So in end of the day, I do issue the COCs, and I do feel like just saying that you're a qualified plumber these days is not enough, because end of the day, with all of the corruption going on and people just buying the trades and things is going on left, right, center, I do feel like I am a better plumber and I am a better quality service provider to a point for any building project or any insurance contract that you might have, just because for the reason that we have done the correct processes, we follow the correct processes, and that we ensure value for money to the customers. End of the day, you have too many Red Seal plumbers out here, and it's like the Wild West. They just do whatever they like, and they get away with it.
We refer to them as the cowboy plumbers.
The cowboy plumbers, or the bucky plumbers is the better known term in the industry. So yeah, most definitely. I'm very proud of issuing the certificates. And for me, it's about insurance, because I know if I've issued that certificate, I know that because we have auditors like Allen here, it's going to help safeguard my income as well as protect my business. Because end of the day, if we do issue COCs or even a municipal COC like with City of Tshwane, and the work's not done correctly, end of the day it's going to come back and there's something wrong, we can get sued, or we can get be held accountable legally, and that's the last thing we want. We don't want to lose money on the installation.
Absolutely, yeah. So we were talking about the fact that you're issuing your COC, and you do that with pride. I mean, hence the fact that you said there are so many people that hold up a sign that says, I'm a plumber. I can fit two pipes together, and hence I call myself or refer to myself as a plumber.
Correct.
There's a difference between being a properly qualified plumber and knowing what the standards are and the requirements of the standards are.
Exactly.
And hence the fact that plumbers are registering with a professional body, and then serve as professionals within their specific trade.
Yes.
It sort of differentiates
Yes.
just, against the guy who's standing on the street corner holding up a
Yeah, the builder's plumber.
yeah.
Yeah, so in end of the day, what it comes down to is my message to my fellow plumbers in the industry is that you should not look at the auditing process as a punitive measure. But at the end of the day, you should look at it as more like an insurance policy. So you've written a certificate of compliance, and because there's auditors on the ground, inspecting the installations, you are going to be given a opportunity to come and repair your work or rectify if there's anything wrong with the installation. And you as the plumber, you're going to find out first. It's not going to be a surprise later on. So I want plumbers to see it as a way of educating themselves, because in the end of the day, like we said earlier now, there's too many Red Seal plumbers out there and bucket plumbers, just doing whatever they like. End of the day, it's up to us as plumbers and the industry to ensure that we are basically keeping ourselves accountable and ensuring quality installations and quality work done. So yeah, it's very important.
The fact is that when you issue that COC, you open your work up for being audited.
Definitely.
You know in the back of your mind that, listen, at any given time, an auditor can show up and come and inspect my work to see if it does really comply with the requirements of the applicable standard. And that gives assurance to your customer. You mentioned it yourself, or the homeowner or the property owner.
Yeah.
And it again, at the end of the day, from what you're saying, is you see it as a sort of a learning curve as well, isn't it? Because if there is a non-conformance, then it either might have been something that you were not aware of before, might have been that you've just neglected to put it in. You earlier mentioned before we started recording this episode this morning that, plumbers are pressed for time.
Exactly.
You cannot spend 20 hours on one job and then
installation.
And
Yeah. So end of the day, any licensed plumber that issues a PRB CSC, they are opening themselves up to the auditing process. But because we see it as a learning curve, it's a way of bettering our quality and ensuring that the customer is getting what they paid for. So end of the day, basically what it comes down to is that we as plumbers, we are pressed for time. And everybody makes mistakes. There's no plumber or person on this planet that's perfect. Everyone has somewhere down the line they're going to make mistakes, or they're going to neglect something because they feel that there's not enough time to do this, or they have too many jobs to attend. So end of the day, what the way I see it is that practice makes perfect. So if the auditor comes out and he shows you, listen, please next time rather pay attention to this and rather make sure that the drip tray has 245s on, whatever the case might be. Practice makes perfect. So the more you do it and you do the correct installation, the easier it's going to come to you. So that's what we strive to do end of the day.
It sounds like, firstly, you're given the opportunity. You did mention that Allen has audited you a couple of times.
A few times.
And that it was a teething process for you because, in the beginning, it was that, okay, there was a non-conformance here, a non-conformance there, and a non-compliance there.
Yeah, no.
But then you offered the opportunity to go and refix or rectify it, for that matter, And then secondly, from what I'm deducing from what you're saying is that the next time that you do the same kind of job, you'll remember that, and you won't make that same mistake again.
Yeah,
it's a learning curve.
That's the thing. And I remember the first 2 or 3 times I got audited, I was very stressed out about it because I actually in the beginning I saw PRB as this organization as there just to police us 24/7 and like Big Brother. But the end of the day, after going through the auditing process, it's not to say it's not there to punish the plumber. End of the day, end of the day, from my experience, like with Allen, it's more of an educational point of view. So he comes there with his book, with his standards, and we take a look at the installation together, and we actually discuss why is something done in a certain way, and why is it important to install certain components, and be sure that it's of the correct standard and quality. So end of the day, the auditors, they're there to help you. They're not there to cost you money or
uplifting the plumbers, growing and developing the plumbers, uplifting the plumbing industry to
Definitely.
change that perception of, the perception that people might have it's just a dirty job with people in overalls, to viewing plumbers as professionals, and in giving that assurance to the consumer at the end of the day.
in end of the day, I always say, plumbing is one of the most, if you choose to become a plumber, you have to be strong, because at the end of the day, people don't really
Respect.
they don't really respect, or they don't really
Trade, yeah.
they see plumbing as a trade that this anyone can come do it. And end of the day, unfortunately, with the way things are going, it's up to us as plumbers to ensure that we uplift the industry and we make it better, because too many times, on building sites, you have the municipalities inspectors that come out, and they come take a look at the installation, and it's either one or two things. They either look at it and they don't really know what's going on, and you can see they don't know what's going on. They just sign it off. They say, okay, shop, the plumber, we believe he's doing a good job. Or two, they come there and then they scrutinize, and then they don't know what the standards really is, and then there's always some of them want some money under the table. So end of the day, that's what we're trying to get out. If we have independent auditors like Allen here that comes out to these sites, it's much better dealing with him, and it's professional, and you know that the job has been done correctly. We don't want to deal with building inspectors that's always hammering us and wanting to make some money on the sideline. That's what we're trying to get out.
Gentlemen, it was always interesting to hear from the horse's mouth, the proverbial horse's mouth. Good to hear from your perspective as a plumber and the owner of a plumbing company. Good to hear from your perspective as an auditor, an actual auditor, but also a plumber yourself. I mean, you are too registered. So, gentlemen, thanks a stack for your inputs and sharing the valuable information with myself and the audience and the viewers out there today. I think we should definitely do a conversation like this again.
Most definitely, yeah.
To our viewers out there, don't go away yet. Please do stay tuned. We're going to go to a quick ad break, but we'll be right back after this.
Being part of an industry professional body is a personal decision.
To those who take pride in their trade, it stretches far beyond having a status of being licensed to issue certificates of compliance.
To them, the consumer matters.
As part of the plumbing industry, you help to bring the most valuable commodity to civilization. Water is life.
Be sure to continue to reap the benefits of being a proudly PIRB registered plumber by continually renewing your registration.
Welcome back. Now we are drawing to a close of this specific edition of the Plumbing 101 show, in which we discussed the audit process of plumbing work and the benefits thereof, and what exactly the process is, what it entails, why it is important, the benefits it holds for both the plumbers as well as for the consumers. And we've heard from the perspective of an actual plumber, we've heard from the perspective of an actual auditor, and speaking of consumers, I think it's time to hear from the perspective of a consumer. So let's have a look at what a consumer has to say about the audit process.
Voor ek by PRB om hulp gaan tot, het ek nie geweet van hulle nie. Toe wat gebeur het, iemand anders my verwys na hulle toe, en ek het 'n groot probleem gehad met 'n persoon wat vir my geyser installasie kom doen het vir sonverwarming. Die ding het glad nie gewerk nie. Hoe meer ek wil sê die ding werk nie, sê hulle nie, maar hy sal werk, en dit was warm, soms was maart maand geweest, dit was warm. Maar niks het gebeur nie. Toe ek op PRB toe gaan, het er iemand uitstuur, auditeer. Die auditeer hier gekom en hy het die hele inspeksie kom doen op die dak. Toe sê hy dat die hele installasie is verkeerd geïnstalleer. Pyp is te dun, die ingang en die uitgang was verkeerd geweest. Die warmwater uitgang was die koue water, so het was eintlik 'n hele deur mekaar spul geweest. Toe het PRB vir my aanbeveel vir 'n loodgieter. Persoon te kom, uit al die installaties kom doen, dat ek gevat het 2 dae. En nou werk my geyser 100%. Ek word warm. Ek het nie 'n probleem met my sonskyn. Winters is 'n bietjie anders, ek mens as so warm, baie warm son nie. Ons werk 100%, dat is geen probleem nie. Dus bly Pierre wie my kon gehelp het.
What an awesome way, there's no better suited way to end off this specific episode, hearing it from the proverbial horse's mouth, from an actual consumer, an actual customer, to hear their perception and their perspective of the audit process and what value they as a customer, as the consumer, get from the actual audit process. Now we've drawn to a complete close of this episode, but before we say goodbye, please do stay tuned because we are going to cross over to Naomi for some news.
Welcome back to the news. Finally, C4C 2023 is almost in sight and sponsorships are now open. If you would like to be part of this heart-pumping event, go take a look at our website at www.championsforcharity.co.za. Moving right along to Roadshow News, the PIRB recently visited OnTap in Paarl and Waterstone in Durbanville on the 24th and 25th of October. Thank you so much for your kind hospitality to the two stores. The PIRB would also like to thank the exhibitors that joined us in Waterstone, and that's Hans Roger, Mark Saal, and Ariston. In more news, in an effort to make the invisible visible, the PIRB will be celebrating World Toilet Day on the 18th of November. Let's act now and become part of this global movement towards safely managed sanitation for all. And before we go, On the Couch, a new production by the PIRB, has officially launched on our YouTube channel. This is a show designed for you, the plumber. So remember to send us your questions through or via WhatsApp at 079 833 6930, or you can email us at communication@pirb.co.za. And lastly, the festive season is almost upon us, so please take note that the PIRB will be on skeleton staff between the 19th and 23rd of December, closed between Christmas and New Year, and back on skeleton staff between the 3rd and 6th of January, and officially opened on the 9th of January 2023. That's it from me. Until next time, bye.